All right, welcome to lesson 24. This is our last lesson in our first unit. So I'll just remind you right now, our first test will cover lessons 19 through 24, which includes this last one. All right, and I'll also say I found this one to be not as difficult as the ones that came before it. You can decide for yourself. So lesson 24 involves dividing. All right, so if we were using an actual textbook, you'd see that there's a section on dividing, and we only really do part of that section. So you would never know the difference, but there's another kind of division that you'll do in college algebra called long division. We're not doing that kind. We're just going to be dividing by a monomial, so a single term. If you divide by a binomial or something larger than that, the process is different. So I just want you to know there's other kinds of division with polynomials that you'll see in future classes, but right now we're just doing the most basic kind, which is dividing by a monomial. So here's what you do. To divide a polynomial by a monomial, remember polynomial means many terms, monomial that will have one term. You're going to divide each term of the polynomial by the monomial. Essentially, you will take the fraction and split it up. Divide and simplify each one separately. So this is going to be some review of how to divide using our exponent rules, subtracting exponents, and how to reduce fractions, both of which you should know how to do. So let's take a look. Number one, 4x plus 20 divided by 4. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to divide each term by 4. So each term meaning the 4x and then also the 20. So 4x gets divided by 4 plus 20 gets divided by 4. It's sort of like distributing a 4, only instead of multiplying, we're dividing. And now each one of these fractions gets simplified. 4x divided by 4, that's just x, because the 4's cancel out, plus 20 divided by 4 would be 5. So our answer is x plus 5. And you can even do a little check. So I can check a division problem by multiplying, right? So what I just divided by is 4. So what happens if I take that 4 and distribute it or multiply it by x plus 5? Watch this. 4 times x, 4x. 4 times 5, 20. So see how we're back where we started? Okay, so I'm not going to do this check every time. In fact, usually I won't. But I do want you to see the connection there. So we divided each term by 4, which is sort of the opposite of multiplying each term by 4. So the most common mistake here is students divide the first term, but not the second. So they might say, oh, I could cancel the 4's, great. And then x plus 20 is my answer. That would be wrong. So notice that we did have to also divide the 20 by 4. So x plus 5 is the final answer. So that's the main idea. We'll see some harder problems along the way, but this is really what we're going to do pretty much every time. Take each term and divide it by whatever is in the denominator. Okay, here's number 2, 9x squared minus 6x divided by 3x. So each term, again, gets divided by the denominator. 9x squared divided by 3x minus 6x divided by 3x. Okay, this time there's an x. So, you know, there's exponents involved, and it's a little bit more complicated. Okay, so just a reminder that 3x has a 1 exponent on the x, so does the 6x. So let's divide the coefficients. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then remember our quotient rule that we learned on the first day. So we can subtract these exponents when we divide. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this is really 3x to the 1, or 3x minus. Now be careful here. 6x divided by 3x, a common mistake is to write 2x, but it's just 2. X divided by x, that just cancels out. Or technically, if you're subtracting exponents, it becomes 2x to the 0, which is really just 2 times 1, which is just 2. So our final answer is 3x minus 2. Now I've written a little 1 exponent on the x here. I actually don't remember if that's considered okay in your MyLabs Plus homework. So just to be safe, I would not put the 1 exponent. I would just write 3x minus 2. So just make that really clear here. 3x minus 2 would be our answer. Technically, there's a 1 exponent there, but we generally don't write that in our final answer. So once again, when we divide by a single term like this, we're going to divide each term in the numerator by whatever is in the denominator. You're essentially reducing fractions and then subtracting exponents. All right, let's keep going. Same idea, just getting a little more complicated with higher exponents and negatives. Here's number 3. This time there's 3 terms. Each one will get divided by that negative 2t to the second. So I'm rewriting 4t to the 5th over 2t squared. Oh, see, and I almost forgot the negative. Sorry. Okay, and then minus 6t to the 4th divided by negative 2t squared. So those negatives are going to cancel out when we simplify, and then plus 8t squared over negative 2t squared. Okay, as we're dividing by a negative, each of the signs will change in our final answer. So see how the signs went from positive, negative, positive. Now it's going to be negative, positive, negative when we simplify. Okay, so let's do that. Here we go. So we're dividing each of the coefficient numbers by negative 2, and we are subtracting exponents. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. Subtracting exponents, 5 minus 2, that's 3. So t to the 3rd. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 is positive 3. So definitely write a plus sign there. And then once again, subtract your exponents. 4 minus 2 is 2. So positive 3t squared. Next, 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. Subtracting exponents, 2 minus 2 is 0. So that's t to the 0, which means I don't need to write anything at all. Okay, so if you do write it, remember t to the 0 is just 1. So this is 4 times 1, which is 4. So my true final answer is negative 2t to the 3rd plus 3t squared minus 4. Okay, good. And once again, notice that our signs have changed from the original problem because we were dividing by a negative. Okay, so each of the numbers got divided by negative 2. Each of the exponents, we subtracted 2 from each of those exponents. In the case of the last term, those variables essentially canceled. T squared divided by t squared is just 1. So those canceled out, and we didn't write a t at all in the final answer. All right, number 4, you can see it's written in a different form. It's not written as a fraction. It's written just using the traditional division sign. But guess what? We get to still do it the same way. So you can rewrite it as a fraction. Here's what that would look like. Okay, so you can rewrite this whole thing all over negative 3x, like that. Okay, so there, now I barely rewrote anything, right? I just put a big fraction bar, and then whatever you're dividing by, that's called the divisor, that goes in the denominator. So negative 3x goes in the denominator. Now I'll rewrite it, 3x to the 7th over negative 3x minus 6x to the 5th, also over negative 3x, plus 9x over negative 3x. We have that same sign situation as well as the previous problem. Positive, negative, positive, positive, negative, positive. We're dividing by a negative, so get ready for the signs to change. Okay, reminder about the exponents. I know you know this, but there's a 1 exponent on that 3x term. Okay, so here we go for the first one. 3x to the 7th divided by negative 3x. 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. X to the 7th divided by x, that's just x to the 6th because I'm subtracting exponents, 7 minus 1. Now I'm leaving this negative 1 coefficient here. Maybe for my final answer, I'll just write negative x to the 6th rather than negative 1 x to the 6th, but they're really the same thing. Next term, negative divided by negative is positive. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X to the 5th divided by x to the 1 is now x to the 4th. I'm subtracting exponents. Let's see, I almost wrote plus. 9 divided by negative 3 is minus 3, or negative 3. x divided by x, that's just 1. Or if I subtract the exponents, it's x to the 0. But again, that's 1. So here's my final answer. I will rewrite it as negative x to the 6th plus 2x to the 4th minus 3. Okay, not 3x. Even 3x to the 0 is technically correct, but not considered simplified because, once again, anything to the 0 is equal to 1. So this is really negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. Okay, so here's my final answer. All right, pretty good. Let's see, I'm looking ahead. Okay, we have 2 more to go. Here's number 5. Here's another one where I can rewrite it. It's starting out as a division problem with the division symbol. I will rewrite it in fraction form. And in fact, I'm going to try to make it easy on myself. And when we rewrite it, let's just immediately put each of these terms over 3a squared b. 3a squared b. 3a squared b. So it's the same idea. Once again, it's just now there's 2 variables instead of 1, but it's really the same idea. So each of these coefficients gets divided by 3. 27 divided by 3 is 9. This 27 divided by 3 is also 9 with the minus sign. 15 divided by 3, that's going to be 5. So I just took care of the coefficients first. Now I'll go back to the variables. Okay, and each time I'm going to subtract exponents. For the a, 7 minus 2 is 5, so that's a to the 5th. For the b, there's a 1 exponent there, 8 minus 1 is 7. So my first term is 9a to the 5th, b to the 7th. Moving on, next term, a to the 5th divided by a squared, 5 minus 2, that would be 3 for the exponent, so a to the 3rd. b to the 6th divided by b, I'm subtracting 6 minus 1, and that's b to the 5th. And then my last term, a squared divided by a squared, and then b divided by b, those essentially just cancel out. That's a 1 right there. So I don't need to write any variables at all next to the 5. And that's it. Okay, so again, technically it's a to the 0, b to the 0. That's 1 times 1, which is 1. 5 times 1 is still 5. So I'm not going to write any of that in my answer. My final answer would just have the 5 there. So have you noticed that happens in almost every problem? The variables cancel in that last term. They tend to start out in this descending order. So by the time you get to that last term, that one has the smallest exponents, and a lot of times they just cancel out altogether. So just notice that and pay attention to that. Okay, good. One more. Here we go. So here's one more similar to that. We're still dividing using this traditional division symbol. This time we're dividing by a negative. And this time our 2 variables are x and y. So we're dividing everything by negative 6 x to the 4th y. So just like last time, I'm going to rewrite this and put each term over negative 6 x to the 4th y, negative 6 x to the 4th y, negative 6 x to the 4th y. So get ready to change your signs as you're dividing. 48 divided by negative 6, that's negative 8. Now I'll subtract my exponents, 1 variable at a time. 9 minus 4 is 5, so that's x to the 5th. 10 minus 1, that's 9. So my first term is negative 8, x to the 5th, y to the 9th. Moving on to the next term. 42 divided by negative 6 is negative 7. Oh, and I forgot to write the y. Oops. Sorry. That should be a y there. Okay. X to the 7th divided by x to the 4th. That's x to the 3rd, subtracting exponents. And then once again, subtracting exponents, y to the 8th divided by y to the 1 is y to the 7th. Last term, negative 54 divided by negative 6 is positive 9. And look at that. Those variables cancel, just like they did in several other problems that we saw. So here's our final answer. Negative 8 x to the 5th, y to the 9th, minus, notice the sign change, 7 x to the 3rd, y to the 7th, and then once again, sign changed, plus just 9 at the end because the variables cancel. Okay, so that's all I have for you for this lesson. It was a fairly short one. Normally during class, when the day that we do this lesson, we often do some review as well. So what I'd like to show you is just some options for what you can do to review for your test. So once again, our first test will cover lessons 19 through 24. Here are a couple of ways that you can review. All right, so first I will take you to MyLabs Plus. Okay, so here's our course in MyLabs Plus. Here's our assignments. Homework 24, of course, would correspond to the lesson we just did. I'd like to remind you about quizzes. Quizzes are optional, but they are there. They are good practice. They will not affect your grade for better or for worse, but if you have the time and you feel like you need more practice and more review, these are a great way to do that. Okay, so I'll just show you an example of a quiz. Remember the numbering in our class, we don't start at number 1 for anything. So in the part 1, we had quizzes up through quiz number 6. So that's why in this class we start with quiz 7. So you can see based on the order, quiz number 7 will help you to review those first 3 lessons on exponent rules, scientific notation, polynomials, adding and subtracting. Then we moved into multiplying and dividing. We just got done with dividing, and then quiz 8 will cover that. So I'll just show you what a quiz looks like. Here's quiz 8. Okay. There, now you can see it, I think. Okay, so you can see a quiz is timed for 75 minutes. It doesn't usually take that long. I've noticed most students can do it more in like half an hour, but it will depend, of course. With a quiz, you can start it and then close it and come back to it. That is different from a test, okay? So with our test, you have to continue and continue working on it. As soon as you open it, that's it. You have to continue and finish it. Quizzes are a little different. Well, let's take a look. So I'm going to click Start Test. So you can see a quiz, it really does kind of look like the homework, but there's a timer right here. Making sure you can see this. Yes, okay. There's a timer going and there's no question help. Okay, so you just type in your answer, but there's no check answer. All right, so I'll just kind of show you a couple of these. So this is a multiplication one. So I'm going to multiply 3 times -4, -12. I'll add the exponents. 4 plus 2 is 6, so c to the 6th. And then add the exponents on the d's, that's d to the 7th. Again, I can't check my answer until I'm done with the quiz, so I'll just move on to the next question. Now I'm distributing. Maybe I want to skip that one for now. Maybe I want to skip ahead to the division ones because I was just learning about that. So let's try some division. And that's going to be near the end. And maybe I'm getting tired of clicking this arrow key. So here's what I can do. Test overview. So see how it shows me I've already answered question 1. That's what the little yellow circle means, but I haven't answered anything else. Maybe I want to start at the end. You can go out of order, that's fine. Here's number 12. Okay, this is great. This is a division problem similar to what we just did. Okay, so I can divide everything by this 3a to the 4th b. So 27, a to the 9th, b to the 10th, divided by 3a to the 4th b minus, I know it's a pain to rewrite it. Okay, so while I'm rewriting, you can just see if you can actually solve it. Divide each of the coefficients by 3 and then subtract the exponents. 15 a to the 4th b over 3a to the 4th b. All right, good. So let's simplify. 27 over 3 is 9. Subtract exponents, a to the 5th. Subtract exponents, b to the 9th. This looks really familiar. Minus, this is 7, a to the 3rd, b to the 7th. Plus 15 divided by 3 is 5, and the variables cancel. So now I'll carefully type that answer in. Okay, 9, a to the 5th, b to the 9th, minus 7, a to the 3rd, b to the 7th, plus 5. All right. So again, I can't check my answer yet. I'll check it when I'm done with my quiz. let's take a moment now to go back and maybe here's another division. Let's take a look at maybe one of the harder multiplication problems. Here's a good one. So this is one from the special products lesson. So there's meant to be kind of a pattern that you're supposed to notice, but even if you don't notice it, that's okay. You can just FOIL, that's fine. So maybe we don't notice that there's a pattern here and we're just gonna FOIL, no problem. So let's do that. Y plus 4, y minus 4. So y times y is y squared minus 4y. And then I'm going to do plus 4y, and then minus 4 times 4 is 16. Those middle terms would normally be combined, but in this case they cancel out. So I have y squared minus 16. So now I get to take the y squared minus 16 and multiply it by the y squared plus 16. All right, so, oops. So I could FOIL once again, but I guess I'll take the time now to tell you the pattern we're meant to notice here is this formula, right? So a plus b, a minus b is equal to a squared minus b squared. So really what I can do is I can take y squared and square it minus 16 squared. So my final answer will be y to the 4th minus, okay, 16 squared. If you multiply that out, that's 256. So that would be my answer for this one. Definitely a longer problem. Y to the 4th minus 256. Okay, I'll do one more question, then I'll submit the quiz and just show you what it looks like to submit a quiz. All right, let's see. Let's purposely get one wrong. I'll just write 16w squared for that one, which is the wrong answer. Now I'm going to submit it. I haven't finished it, okay? So I'm not going to get a good score here. But you do have 3 tries on a quiz. So feel free to just, if you want to use up one of your tries, only doing the ones you know, that's fine. Let's see what it looks like to submit a quiz. Okay, so I got a 25%. I got 3 out of 12. You can see my score here. And it shows me which questions I got right. Obviously the green check mark is ones I got right. This darker red X, number 9, I got that one wrong. All these other ones in parentheses, I didn't do those, but now I can go back and review. Okay, so even if you don't do well on a quiz or you don't finish it, it still becomes a nice review opportunity because when I'm reviewing it now, it will show me the correct answer. So here's number 1 that I answered. I didn't answer number 2, so I got a little X here. You can see what the answer is now though. And if I click here with my mouse, it says you answered nothing. Okay, so maybe I need help with this. Maybe I don't understand where the answer comes from, and check it out. Now there's question help available. So now you can view examples and ask your instructor if you need to. Okay, number 3, I wanna move on to the one I got wrong here, which I think was test overview. Number 9, let's go take a look at number 9. Okay, so if I look in the blue space, you might say, oh, I should have gotten it right. Well, if you click here, this is what I answered. So it says you answered 16w squared. This is the real answer. So maybe you're confused about where the answer comes from. That's a perfect time to send me an email, ask my instructor and say, you know, I don't understand why I got it wrong, whatever, etc. So feel free to use the quizzes in this way if you'd like to, or don't, that's fine too. The last thing I'd like to remind you of, one more review opportunity. Oops, sorry. Getting back to my screen here. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that. Another place you can go to review is in Blackboard. One of the resources I have for you is this set of classwork packets that you would normally be getting handed to you during class. I believe I've shown you this before, but just a reminder, there's a packet that corresponds to each lesson. So here's all the Unit 1 topics, classwork 19 to 24. So I can click here. And then again, you can go through and use any of these to review any of the lessons you might have struggled with. Okay, so here's the lesson we just did on lesson 24. 22 and 23 are grouped together, multiplying and special products. So I'll just open that one briefly here. So it's just more practice, okay? And if you have a printer, you can print it, or, I mean, sometimes it's nice to just have a set of problems that are blank and you don't quite have the help buttons there. You might have gotten used to just using the examples a little too much. So you can treat this as your own little quiz if you want to. Do as many as you would like. And there is a list of answers at the back, or on the last page. So you can get hundreds of extra questions by doing these classwork packets. So you can see there's 47 questions just for these 2 lessons alone. So it's more than you need, but I do want you to know that they're there, and it's another opportunity for you to review. If you've kind of finished all the homework, watched all the videos, but you feel like you still need something more, and just staring at your notes is not the best way. So, all right, good. So as always, stay in touch. Let me know if you have any questions. On the day of the test, feel free, let's see, I think it's a Thursday that your first test is, or maybe a Tuesday. No, it's a Tuesday, sorry. On that Tuesday, sorry about my confusion there. On that Tuesday, rather than having a normal class time, I'll be available, but you don't have to attend, but I'll be available. So you can kind of drop in and ask any last minute questions, and we can go over some review problems as needed. Alrighty, so I will end this video. So lesson 24 is done. This is the end of unit 1, and our first test will be covering lessons 19 through 24. Right here where it says test work submission, there's not an assignment there yet, but I'm going to put one there, which is where you'll be able to upload your work for your test. So you'll take a photo or a scan and then submit it that way. Same way you've been submitting your weekly written homework. Okay, very good. Thanks for hanging in there with me, and I'll see you soon.